Hello there, how are you doing? Now in this video, you're going to learn about inheritance, okay? So how one class can extend from another class and inherit the properties and methods, okay? So from parent to children classes, okay? So inheritance is the ability to pass the implementation of the class from parent class to children class using extends keyword, okay. So when a class extends from another class, for example a child class extends from parent class, it gets all the properties and methods that are not defined as private. So if it is defined as private, obviously you don't get anything because private is private. But if it is defined as protected or public, they will be available to another that children class, the one that is extending, right? So how can we use this in our application? So let's have a look on a customer class, okay. So it contains the first name, surname, email, and ID, right? So these things, if you think about it, these things can actually belong to a class person, because as you can see, a person would have the ID, first name, last name, email, right? So the benefit of that is if we move this to person class, and instead of having all this here, we extend from person, okay. So when we extend, it's like having all these here, it's like having here, because when you extend you just don't write it down like this, but still you have access to all these properties. You can use this to access the properties and all that. Now private is exception, obviously it has to be protected in public, but yes, you can extend. So if we move this to person, the benefit is not only customer class, later we might have a guest class or the librarian class. They also need to have the first name, surname, and email, right? Because librarian also a person, just like a customer. Guest is also like another person. So if we move this to person class, then we could benefit not only that customer could extend from the person, or the future class we might create such as guest or librarian also could extend, okay. So that's the, so let's do that. Let's move this to person and we extend this class customer. So let's begin by creating a function, or sorry, creating a file inside domain, and let's name it person.php, okay. So person.php. Yes, done. Now let's begin with PHP. Let's add namespace bookstore slash domain. This is the one we've been using for all these, okay. Now class person. Now this would have, now we're not going to use private. What we're going to do is instead we use protected. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let me just comment out so that we can see, okay. So first I'm going to move only the first name and surname, okay. So go to person, let's change it to protected so that it can be available to the children classes, the one that extends, right? Protected first name, protected surname. Awesome. Let's also add this constructor method. And this will take two arguments, first name and then surname, okay. And then we set this property, this first name we set to first name, the one we get from the argument. This surname equals to surname. Awesome. Okay, so we got the properties, we got the method, constructor method. Now let's create some more methods for accessibility of the get name and set name, okay. So public function get first name, return this first name, and then let's create another one, get surname. So public function okay. So we got this class, new class. It has the properties, first name, surname. It has the constructor method, and it has this get first name and get surname methods. Awesome. We're doing all this so that we can extend here, right? So back to customer, class customer. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to extends person, right? So when we extend, everything in this class, all these properties and methods are available here as if they are here. Okay, all of them are available as long as they are not set to private. As long as they are protected and public, they are available. Now that we're extending, even though we don't have the first name and last name, we are referencing here as if they are available in this class. Okay, so it works. It still works. Okay, so in init.php we have all this code. We are instantiating all this. We are instantiating the customer. Customer is extending the person, so that we have the benefit of having this first name and last name without having actually in this class. So it all works. If you give it a try, refresh, it all works. Okay. Now there's one more thing we can do. This first name and surname, it is repeated. It is already in the person class. So how can we get benefit of that? We don't want to repeat the code, right? So yeah, we can simply get rid of it. And instead, what we can do is we can use this parent, okay, this parent, and then these two column. So this way we can access the properties of the parent, okay, properties of methods on the parent. Now in this case we're trying to access the constructor, right? As you can see, this constructor, it has first name and last name, so we just refer to that. And you saw this pattern earlier as well. We don't need to instantiate anything. We can just access we saw this in the static properties. When we are accessing the static properties, we use the same pattern, right? So when you're extending from one class to another, you can access the parent class properties and method like so. Okay, so in this case we are accessing the constructor, and we can pass the first name, surname. In fact, I shouldn't have deleted here because that is needed. Okay, because that is the argument we're getting, right? So in fact, let me go to person. Just let me copy this. I still need this one. Okay, so this is coming from the instance. Okay, so all this will come, and instead of processing here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it to the parent. First name and then surname. Awesome. So not only that, we are depending on parent for the first name and surname, we are depending on parent to process this data as well. So now if you need to extend, if any other class need to extend the person so that they can use the first name, last name, these properties and methods, they don't have to write it down. They can simply extend and it works. Okay, so this is how it works, extend, and this is inheritance. So let's give it a try. Refresh. Call to undefined method. This should be construct, not constructor. Construct tr. Let me copy this. Save this. Let's give it a try, and it works fine. Okay, so this is how you extend from one class to another. Okay, so this is called inheritance. And we also covered the parent. To use the parent property of method, you simply use parent instead of this and the following double colon. All right, so this is it for this lesson. Now in the next lesson you're going to learn about overriding methods. Okay, what if the parent class have a method something like get first name, and you want to create the same method in the child class, the one that is extension. What happens when you have the same method on both parent and child? What happens, and how you can continue to use both of them? Okay, so you will learn about all that in the next section, where we will be talking about overriding methods. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.